Hi there, it's your Sewing Sherpa Shauna, and I have been pondering a question that was asked of me in the last Stitch by Stitch class. One of the students was struggling with sewing straight, and he's like, what do I do to sew straight? How can I practice straight sewing? And it's been a long time since I've really thought about that, and I was like, okay, in class I teach you how to follow a seam guide, which is on the throat plate of your sewing machine. So if you look, there's like little lines on the throat plate, and you line up your fabric to these lines on the throat plate, and then you sew, right? And that, in theory, is how you sew straight, but we're going to exit that idea and think about it. Sewing straight, that so rarely happens in sewing, right? There are curved edges, there are corners, there are angles, straight sewing maybe happens every once in a while, but what you're actually doing is you're following a seam guide, and you're sewing close to the edge of the fabric. Depending on whatever your seam allowance is, it might be 5/8 from the edge, or 1/2 inch, or 3/8. So knowing where that is from your needle and then keeping your fabric lined up with that is your goal, right? So in class, I teach you to find that spot on your throat plate and take a piece of tape, or washi tape works, or I've got this painter's tape, and say I want to do 5/8 of an inch. Put that tape there, and you can see where 5/8 of an inch is from your needle, and you follow the tape, right? Another thing you can do is you can buy these little magnetic seam guides, and when you put those on your throat plate, assuming your throat plate is metal, and some of the modern machines have like plastic throat plates, then you can follow that. Like that will be the thing that you bump your fabric up against. And people find that helps them to stay in line with the seam allowance that they're supposed to be sewing. But I thought about it further. Every once in a while I get that student who just doesn't get how to follow that guide. Like there's the needle here and there's a guide there, and you really want me to look at the guide and the edge of my fabric while the action's happening over here, right? And not just watch it, but you're also manipulating your fabric, right? It's like, so I thought about it, and I'm like, what would be a really good thing if you're having trouble understanding how to guide your fabric left and right and stay in line with something, is just basically get some cotton fabric, and I'm talking like quilter's cotton, broadcloth or something. You always want to sew through 2 layers, so just get 2 pieces. I have got a scrap here, and then draw yourself a design. Now don't make it too complicated. Don't make it too complicated, and maybe you want to do a bunch of random things across it. And then, so I just drew a bunch of random squiggles on here, right? And then go in with your sewing machine threaded up and practice following those lines. And I can guarantee you, after about an hour of doing that, your hands are going to start understanding like how to guide your fabric, how to not push it or pull it in a really low stress way too. You're not like ruining a project or anything like that. And if you think it through ahead of time and you get some cute fabric and some coordinating thread, and you really fill it up with straight lines and squiggly lines and stuff like that, you could use it in the future for make a bag out of it or something. Use it as your quilted fabric. Could end up being a really fun way of not wasting that piece of fabric if you're a zero waste person. So those are my tips for getting better at sewing straight. Keep on sewing.